I think it does it automatically. Is my understanding. I think for some reason.
Yes, I see. Yes.
Okay. I think we're here. Hello, everyone. I believe we are live. Sorry, everyone. Just bear with me one sec. Right. We are here. And okay, there we go. Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to the live portion of the Virtual Craft Distilling Expo. This is the follow-on from the Lallemand talk on rum and rum. So, we can answer any questions about fermentation, but in general, but also we can start off specifically about rum. But would you like to introduce yourself before we start? Oh, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry?
Did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah,
sorry.
no, the sound was not good, so thank you. I am Maryse Bolzon. I have been working for Lallemand for 7 years, something like that. I am in charge of the craft distillers all over the world. And so this presentation on rum, I just want to give you a detail. It is why rum and rum. Why rum without age and why rum with age? It is just because we want to make the difference between rum from molasses without age and rum with age, which is rum made with fresh cane juice. It is just why we have rum. And rum is a big family, and so it is not always very easy to make the distinction. So we decided internally to have rum and rum. So that's all. It is just a funny story within Lallemand, in fact.
Well, it makes sense. At least it gives you some differentiation, doesn't it? So, and anyone watching, we've got the chat window. So if you've got any questions, just type your questions in there, and they'll pop up here, and then I shall ask them. So, but first, the first question that we've got, and I know in the presentation there was a discussion about potentially a different type of yeast being used if you were going to do the rum with the H, the cane based versus molasses. Like there might be certain yeast that might work slightly better, or they're different anyway, but some might be more. And then I was thinking, and one of the questions is that if you had cane, if you were making a rum that was unaged versus a rum that you knew was going to be aged, would you possibly look at some variation in the yeast strain that you would use depending on that? I mean, is that something that you've really looked at or not?
Yes and no, in fact. So basically, we have to consider that yeast used on fresh cane juice, one of them, in fact, is dedicated to it just because, in fact, selected in Caribbean area on fresh cane juice. So, of course, it is more dedicated. And also, because it is in the French area, we have, even if it is on an age, we have the obligation by the regulation to get a level of non-alcohol. Non-alcohol, it is all the esters, higher alcohol and everything except ethanol and methanol. And so it depends also on the regulation. In France, when we look at that, in fact, even if it is non-aged or unaged, we need to have a lot of aromas. So we need to use yeast producing a lot of aromas. In other area, it is less obvious, and so it depends also on the type of rum you want to get. We have another yeast which is quite neutral, but it is a very good yeast for the quality of fermentation. So if you want to get the impact of the cask, of course, perhaps this yeast will be much better. So it depends really of the purpose of your what you want to achieve. What do you want to achieve, in fact? So so it is why we can have different strains doing different things. But if you want something very aromatic, you will use some style of yeast, and if you want something more neutral because you think that your cask will be much better, your age like that will be because you have a particular cask. It is something that we can see in Brazil, for example. They have a local wood that they use for the barrels, and so sometimes they want something neutral as a start, just because they want to express the barrel. So really, it depends on how you manage your aging, your fermentation.
Excellent, thank you. I believe that your colleague Jean is there ready to join us. I haven't got her email address. Would you be able to just email her the link, and then we'll let her into the Zoom, so we'll have another person here, if that's all right. So sorry everyone, we're still getting used to everything, but we're getting there shortly. And great to see we have got another question come in from someone, so we'll come to that very shortly, just once we've dealt with this little technical issue.
Just let me know. Okay, just 1 second. I sent the link. So
lovely, thank you very much. So
thank you.
Sorry about that, Jean. When you come in, I'll be able to just let you in straight from here. So we have a question from Nevin, who's a great friend of the Expo for many, many years. So hello to you. And this question is, which yeast has the highest fermentation temperature tolerance? And he's primarily talking about a molasses base. So which yeast has the highest fermentation temperature tolerance?
What is a high temperature? What do you mean by high temperature?
I guess it's a case of which one can you ferment at the highest temperature before it kind of doesn't work so well.
In fact, we have two yeast working very well till 30, 35. It will depend also on the other parameter of the fermentation. In fact, what is the type of molasses? Do we have a clean molasses? Do we have a very bad blackstrap? What is the quality? If we can say that in the standard condition, the two yeasts that we propose for molasses work very well with high temperature, just because in fact they were selected in one in Brazil, and so it is quite warm, very sometimes very hot in fact, and the other one was selected on molasses in a Caribbean area. So it is why also the fact that we selected the yeast in these areas, of course, offer us the possibility to have something working quite well at 34, 35. Hi, Jean.
Hello, Jean. You're muted at the moment, Jean. There you go. Hello.
Hi.
Nevin, did that answer your question? Did you want to come back with what type of molasses you were thinking of using? Please do if you wanted to. Jean, well, hello, lovely to have you. Do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us anything you wanted to add from the presentation on Rhum and Rhum?
I'm Jean Murray. Hi.
Okay. Sorry, Jean, did you have anything you wanted to add about Rhum?
I'm having dialogue in the background. I think it's a delay or something.
Oh, it might be. It might be coming through one of the speakers or something like that, perhaps. Is that any better?
Oh, yes, I think it is now.
Okay, good. All right, well, let's try that. Let's see if that works.
No. No, I still have a big delay.
Are you listening through the Zoom, or are you listening on the? Have you still got the Vimeo open?
Could you disconnect and reconnect?
Yeah, that might be the best thing. Okay. Yeah, there's a great delay on the. I think it's on the Vimeo. it's delayed from what we're saying. I think it's about like a 30-second delay or something like that. So, okay. All right. So that's did you we're just waiting for another question to come in. Did you want to? Is there anything else that you'd like to sort of talk about, Maryse?
Just another point about temperature. Okay, we can say we can work till 35 or 36 degree. We just have to be aware that the temperature will have an impact on the aromatic profile. So if you work at 30 degree you take the same strain, you work at 30 degree or at 35 degree, your profile will be different. I don't say that one will be better than the other one. It is just that they will be different. So you can play with the temperature also to get something different. Yes, we have yeast working very well at high temperature. Usually when you are at high temperature, you have less esters. Yes, less fruity esters, because it is, whatever the yeast, it is stressful. Even if you have a yeast working very well at 35, it is stressful. So the aromatic profile, usually you have less fruity aromas, but it doesn't mean that it is not good. It is just different.
And we've had some clarification from Nevin, and he said he was specifically asking for A-grade molasses and was looking to make a high ester rum. So I guess that speaks to something about.
So yes, and so I would say that it will be much better if we can manage the temperature 32, 33, because in this case we will have a lot of esters, and to use a dedicated yeast to get a lot of esters. In our portfolio, for example, we have a yeast selected in Brazil on cachaça, and it works very well at high temperature, but also you have a lot of complexity. Usually we can use also the yeast that we have for the fresh cane molasses, for fresh cane juice, sorry. It is just that the light phase will be a little bit longer. We just have to be aware of that, because if in this case, the molasses is a very good quality, so we have no problem. We can use this type of yeast. But when we have molasses, which is more black strap, for example, so in this case, we just have to be aware of this point to manage the fermentation. So that's all.
Oh, thank you. And welcome back, Jean. You can hear us better now, right?
Yeah, thanks. That's a lot better now.
Please, sorry, everybody. Sorry. So, Jean, did you want to just quickly just say sort of like what you do for the company, and also if you had any thoughts about rum as well to add from what was in the presentation?
So yeah, I work as the technical sales manager for the UK and Ireland. I've been with Lallemand since July last year. I'm still learning about rum myself. My background is in Scotch whisky, so it's very exciting to learn about all the different spirit types that people are producing out there, and we've got a lot of craft distillers in the UK certainly having a go with the rum. So it's been good to chat to them.
Great, thank you. And if anyone's got any questions, please send them through. You're quite right, though. I mean, I think even like the last 2 or 3 years, maybe even a shorter period than that, the number of new rums coming out from UK producers, where they're doing, I think, what Pete Holland calls from first principles. So the full, not just blending and maturation, but the full fermentation and everything. That's quite. It's really, really increased, and some of the quality that's there is very impressive. Of course, there are, some challenges in there for the UK market in terms of access to certain raw materials. Not very easy to get fresh cane juice in the UK, funnily enough. Which and a little bit. I mean, okay, there's some of it sort of maybe in some of the south in the US, but that is something. That we do see, particularly in the US, but a little bit in the UK, and that is people using sort of evaporated cane juice or something like that, and these so ECJ and these sorts of things. Any thoughts on, because we talked about molasses and we talked about cane juice. Any thoughts about if you're using one of those kind of products? What you how you might approach it from a fermentation point of view for that?
Just one point, which is quite interesting, also about fresh cane juice. United States and usually in the world we use only one variety, or perhaps two, but usually it is one. But if you go to the French Iceland, you will see that they use, like for the wine, in fact, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 different varieties of cane, in fact. And it is very interesting because, in fact, the aromas from the raw material are different from the start. And that it is something that we have, that we know very well in the production of Rhum agricole. It is something that they use, and it is the approach. It is like in the wine, in fact. They use different varieties just to get different aromas. And the impact of the yeast, of course, it is a contribution. In fact, you put, it is like a puzzle. You have the raw material, the yeast, the distillation. And so it is something which is totally different of what you can see, for example, in the south of United States, where they use usually one variety or two varieties of cane juice, of cane. So that it is, yeah. So regarding the fermentation, everything is different. And so because, except the fact that you have some sugar and you have the yeast and you get ethanol, otherwise the challenges are quite different, in fact.
We had a good comment from Robert Fotheringham here, which is, he's talking about, high ester rum fermentation. Of course, the distillation technique needs to match it, which is quite true. And obviously more, as he says, about pot or pot retort distilled. So we'll open it up a little bit beyond rum if anyone's got any questions that are just general fermentation. And if Jean or Maryse, if you have anything that you want to say in general about fermentation, anything new that's going on, what's exciting you in the world, that would be lovely. I'm sure people would love to hear it.
Well, certainly we have. We always have new yeast strains in R&D, so we've always got new strains coming out for lots of different spirit types. So if anybody's interested in learning about some of the options that are available for that, we can certainly discuss that.
What are some of the new ones that you've got coming out that are of interest? And what spirits?
We work with all different spirits: whiskey, rum, neutral spirits, tequila. We have quite a wide portfolio of different yeast options.
Okay, good.
And recently, just to help detail, recently for the people who like to work on the sour mash technique for the whiskey production, we have a selected bacteria, in fact, to help to control it, to manage the sour mash technique. So that it is really new in the production. So it is really more for the whiskey production, but it is something interesting to have something different, to get something different, to diversify, in fact, the type of product that we can have. So yes, we work on a lot of different approaches regarding fermentation and how we can manage that, and to give tools also that you can use easily. Because it is something that also it's very important, like the bacteria, for example. You have no risk, it is no contamination, and it is easy to use. You just have to dilute in water. It is not something, yes, you don't need any equipment, very specific equipment. So yes, it is something also we are looking at.
Jean, from a UK point of view, are you seeing any particular sort of area of growth from spirits that people are making and the yeast they're looking for?
Well, certainly the Irish market particularly is expanding very much. Lots of new distilleries opening across there. But I would say in general, there's a trend in the UK more towards, we're seeing a lot of customers asking about rum products. I would say that's there's a lot of people just trying that for the first time, sort of in the last few months and things. So.
Very good. That's good. What a good time to have a talk on it then.
Yeah.
I guess generally you see, certainly from looking from a distillery point of view, you don't seem to see so much of the production of neutral spirits or even things approaching that in the UK as you do in the US? You know, in terms of like, just thinking of something like gin, I don't see so many people making their own base spirit in the UK, where it's certainly much more popular in the US. Would you say that's reasonable?
Yeah, certainly the majority of gin distillers would just purchase the neutral spirit because obviously the people who are making that on a huge scale can do so far more economically than a smaller producer. So it tends to be only people who are particularly interested in using, for example, if they farm potatoes anyway and they want to have a little craft vodka distillery on site or something like that. So it tends to be if there's a specific reason for wanting to do so. Certainly for the majority of customers, it's a lot cheaper just to buy it in than make it themselves.
Oh yeah, for sure. Interesting. I was thinking about people that are making it themselves in the UK, and there's Arbiki distillery up in Scotland.
Yes,
and of course they've just released this gin and now a vodka actually, which is distilled from peas, like garden peas. And it made me think, like, how do you work out what yeast you'd use to, if you've got something non-typical, like if it's rum, right? Obviously we understand that. It's whiskey and like corn and barley, and we understand that, or grapes. But if someone wants to say, oh, I'm going to ferment peas, or I want to whatever, some other unusual sauce, how do you approach what yeast you'd use for something like that?
So we have a lot of strains in our portfolio anyway, so we can certainly try options from our existing yeast portfolio, but then we can also offer a service to specifically look for a yeast strain that would work in somebody's process that we don't currently have. So if somebody wanted to do a project to look for a specific yeast strain like that, that's something that we can do. Our labs, R&D labs in Montreal.
And I guess you look at things like what the typical sugar content of the whatever the material was and things like that. Rich, do you have anything to add to that, to my slightly off the wall question?
But you're right. You are right. We have a question like that about fermentation of what things that we don't think as a start, in fact, and it works. But yes, it is usually is it starch at the start, or do we have a sugar base, or what is the type of sugar that we have? From that, we can start to work on something. But sometimes it is not very obvious because we have also the pH, and we have to take care of that, because for some, if I take some fruit, for example, for the pH of the fruit, you can have 3, you can have 4. It is totally different. So the contamination, when you have 4, it is one type of contamination. At 3, it is another type of contamination, if you have contamination. And so you have, of course, you have the type of sugar, you have the pH, you have a lot of things. So what we do, if it is really something which is totally distinctive, yes, like I said, gin, we use our lab in Montreal to assist us a little bit and to provide the good, the tailor recommendation to the customer. Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we have a lot of funny feedstock, which is very interesting. At the end, it's very interesting. Yes.
Yes, I was trying to think what's other interesting, like unusual base things. I had a couple of times this year. I've tried a vodka from, I think it's from Kazakhstan, which is called Kans, and that is made from mare's milk.
Wow. Wow.
Certainly not come across that in the UK.
Yeah, that's something a bit different. It's when you know what it is, you can really appreciate. But like some of I've tried 2 different vintages, as it were, of it, and one of them had very distinctive blue cheese notes.
Blue cheese note. Wow.
But like once you get your head around it, you're like, oh, actually, how this can partner with food and stuff like that is quite interesting. But yeah, they're not typically notes that you would find in a product, and sometimes if you found them in a product, you might not be very keen to have it in there. But in this case, this is designed to be in there, and it's quite fascinating, really. Okay, well, we'll have a last call for any questions from anyone, so get in now or you'll miss out. What a great opportunity to get your questions answered. Just whilst we're just waiting to see if anything comes through, did you have any sort of other final points you wanted to make about yeast and those sorts of things?
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Maryse.
Yes, no. I just want to add that our portfolio, it is yeast, enzyme, nutrients, and bacteria. Now that we try to provide selected product and very high quality product to the distilleries. And what we really want to say, it is when we have a product, when we sell a product, we always have the technical support. So we have people knowing in fact, the type of spirits that we can do. Like said, Jean, she has a very good background in whiskey production, and she knows a lot of things about rum production, for example. And so we really not only sell the product, but we have the technical support to explain why this product, what we can expect, what we can do, how we can manage that. So that it is something that really, I think it is really important. A product by itself, it is a product, but what it is important, it is really to use it very well. And it is what we try to do when we give the technical support at the same time.
That's a very important point. Yeah. Sorry, Jean, you were going to say something as well, I think.
I was just, I suppose, fairly similar. You mentioned our Beaky, and obviously we work with our Beaky, and we helped Kirsty look at nutrients and different options for doing that work. So if customers have specific projects like that, we can absolutely work with them and try and find solutions for any sort of challenges that they've got using different substrates or different processes. That's absolutely something we support with. So.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, I did, and it's a very tasty gin as well. So I'm not looking forward to trying the vodka, because that was always kind of the thing, like tasting the gin. That was immediately what I thought was like, but what does the base spirit taste like? Because I wanted to kind of compare the two. What's the flavors that are coming from the botanicals? What are the flavors that are coming from the base spirit? Because sometimes, I mean, I speak to people, particularly sometimes sort of competition judges, and they say, "Oh, I don't like." They'll gin judge. They'll judge gin, but I don't really like vodka. And I'm like, how can you not like vodka? It's such an important part of understanding gin, is understanding the base spirit. We have got a question from Nick, and he has a question which is: can rum be made via rectification? Nick, if you can clarify, that would be really helpful. Are you suggesting not doing any fermentation at all, just buying in the sort of rum low wines? Is that what you're suggesting? If you can answer that, and we'll get in and answer that question. Whilst we're waiting for that that clarification from Nick, might be a very silly question. I understand yeast for the fermentation. I understand the nutrients to kind of, keep them going. But what's the bacteria? What would you use the bacteria for?
But the bacteria, it is more for the whiskey production. In the whiskey production type of bourbon, for example, where the sour mash technique is something that we use, in fact, in United States, and in some countries in Europe also, we are developing this technique. And it is just to get something different, in fact, and you have your bacteria working on some molecules, and we have a different profile, and so you capture or not during distillation, but yes, it is something that you can have more some cereals notes. When you have something which is very fruity, you can get some complexity with some cereals notes. So it is just to extend, in fact, your palate. It's not to replace, it is just to extend your palate. And it is just that we have a lot of craft distillers saying, oh yes, I would like to use a back set, but they are not a big company. A big company, they have back set every day. So they have no problem, it is always a clean one. But when you're a craft, usually you can't have that every day, something clean, something that you can use without any issues, no contamination and everything. So what we wanted to do, it is just to offer to the craft distillers the possibility to use the same technique, the sour mash technique, but to control it. That's all. In fact.
Okay, I understand. We've had clarification from Nick. He says, I can put it up here. Nick says, yes, he's talking about rum from low wines. Is anyone offering rum low wines in the UK? I guess a rum question, not necessarily something directly that you're involved in. Are you aware of anyone doing that? I mean, your bit's the bit before that, really, isn't it? So
yeah. Usually we are a little bit before, yes. But no, I'm
not aware.
No, I'm not the best person to answer. I think that if Robert Foringham is online, perhaps he can answer.
Yeah, I know we had a talk last year about making, I think it was rum and whiskey from rectification. So this idea that someone would sell the low wines to people. I don't know what's happened with that particular project. So I know that there was something that was on the cards. I guess, I mean, and I understand why you might want to do that, because of course, rectification license versus a distillation license, particularly in the UK, they're different things. I guess one of the issues is a consideration more than an issue, is that there would be a whole chunk of the control over what your final product would taste like that you would lose out on, because you wouldn't be able to be making your choice of the yeast and your fermentation and the time and all these kind of things. And that's where a lot of the flavor profiles come from. So I totally understand why you might want to do it,
Yeah.
but I think that would be definitely, that would be one of the limitations of doing it, is you wouldn't have this element of control. So
yeah, no, I agree. Yes.
Mm.
Which is, yeah.
But I can understand why. So unfortunately, not to. Hopefully, there was something, but I'm not. If I find anything out about it, then I'll let you know. I've been trying to have a look, but not found anything yet. Let's see if we've got anything else from anyone. Robert says he's not aware of anyone supplying low wines in the UK. Thank you for that, Robert.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Okay, well, unless there was anything else, I think that about wraps it up, if that's all right with everybody. Any other final points to make?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Good. All right. And everyone, you can go on to the Lallemand's vendor page and get in contact, have a one-to-one meeting. And as I said, as it was discussed, you're getting the support as well from things. It's not just, I've got my yeast, that's the end of it now.
No. It's you know that very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much to my guests. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.